Some left their homes with little more than the clothes on their back. And many evacuees, as we know, are in need of immediate financial help. So today, I'm here to announce that the Government of Alberta is providing emergency funding for evacuees. Every evacuee who is forced to evacuate the Fort McMurray area because of the wildfire is eligible to receive $1,250 for each adult and $500 for each child under the age of 18. This one-time payment will be distributed through debit cards beginning today at designated locations in Edmonton, Calgary, and Lac La Biche. Additional debit card locations will be announced in the coming days. They will be open until May 20th. After that, we will move the emergency financial assistance to Alberta Works offices. All the details related to this emergency funding and how to access it can be found by visiting www.emergency.alberta.ca or by calling 310-4455, toll-free from anywhere in Alberta. This one-time emergency payment will help evacuees to meet their immediate short-term needs associated with the evacuation, such as temporary housing and essential day-to-day expenses. Now, I want to stress one very, very important point. Our aim is to get help to the evacuees who need it the most as quickly as possible. We will do everything we can to make the lineups run smoothly as possible through that process. But there will be long lineups, especially in the early days of distribution. So I am asking all evacuees, if you don't need emergency funding immediately, please let those in desperate need be first in line. That way, we can distribute the debit cards as quickly and efficiently as possible. Be assured that the funding will not run out. There are enough debit cards for every eligible evacuee. So again, if you don't have immediate financial needs, please don't line up for assistance today. Let those who need the help most line up first to get the help that they need. It's also important to note that one person can apply for and receive emergency financial funding for their family. If you are in need of immediate financial help, please bring the following information to a distribution center: your Red Cross registration number, photo ID, identification for a partner, spouse, and all dependents, such as an Alberta Health card, a Blue Cross card, or a birth certificate, proof of residence or presence in the community. If you don't have identification, statutory declarations will be accepted. Arrangements will be made to provide debit cards to evacuees who have left Alberta. We are in discussions with the Red Cross on that matter. And we will also be making arrangements to provide the debit cards to seniors, individuals with mobility issues, and those with special needs who are unable to apply in person at the debit card locations. It's also important to note that in addition to the immediate emergency assistance provided by the Alberta government, the Red Cross is also providing financial assistance, and you will hear about those details in a moment. And in many cases, that financial assistance will be accessed electronically, so that will help support our original ask that if you don't need the money right away, perhaps take a day or two before you show up at our distribution centers. Let me conclude by saying that this emergency funding underscores the commitment that every Albertan owes to each other. It's about Albertans helping Albertans. The Fort McMurray fire has affected the lives of tens of thousands of our fellow citizens, Albertans who have contributed so much to the health and well-being of every community in our province. This emergency funding expresses our collective commitment to help them through this crisis so that their lives can return to normal as soon as possible. So I'd like to now turn over the podium to Conrad Sauvier, who's the President and CEO from the Red Cross, who will provide details of the additional financial assistance and the different process for receiving that financial assistance through the Red Cross. And then I'll be happy to take questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Premier Notley. Good morning. Over the past week, the people of Alberta have demonstrated incredible care, compassion, and humanity to the people impacted by the wildfires here in Alberta. I want to remind that most evacuees have been staying with friends and family. People are helping in the shelters, their homes and communities, and of course, first responders have been in Fort McMurray since day one. Also, across the country, Canadians have also responded with a tremendous outpouring of support. We're seeing this from all parts of Canada. To everyone who has helped in person, who made a donation, we want to thank you. I also want to commend Premier Notley for her strong leadership and quick reaction supporting this response. The Red Cross has been working closely with the province to register evacuees and provide assistance. I'm going to come back to this, but I think the registration in this case has been very important and will help us as we go forward in responding to the specific needs. To date, we've registered over 80,000 evacuees. Hundreds of Red Cross volunteers have been working tirelessly in the past week, manning the phones of different call centers and responding to these needs as well. So as we registered everybody, we have their contact information and we have been in contact with them. What's important with the call centers, and we want to make sure in all this that nobody will be missed. We know already that the damage resulting from the wildfires will be in the billions and it will take years to recover. But we also know that the needs of those affected are immediate. In our conversations with evacuees, they have told us that they most urgently their needs are basic supplies, and I think the Premier has talked about that: food, water, clothing, and personal items. I would like to I'm going to draw the attention also, and you'll have in your kits as well, and I think we've talked about that, but we'll provide you with a map of, with the registration, we have an opportunity to see exactly where evacuees are, mostly, of course, in Alberta, but also across the country. And the message to those that are evacuated: if you have your Red Cross number, if you've registered, we will take care of you wherever you are. So I'll talk a bit about the assistance as we go. I think what's important here, at the Red Cross, we understand the needs of each individual and family are unique, which is why I'm so pleased to announce today that the Red Cross will be providing $50 million of immediate financial assistance directly to the evacuees. This means $60 per adult, $600, thank you, $600 per adult, and $300 per child. La Croix-Rouge sait que les besoins de chaque personne et de chaque famille sont uniques. C'est pourquoi je suis heureux d'annoncer aujourd'hui que la Croix-Rouge distribuera 50 millions de dollars en aide directe aux personnes évacuées, soit 60 dollars par adulte et 300 dollars par enfant. Now, for the majority of people, and again, the Premier mentioned this will come directly in the form of an electronic payment. Direct financial assistance not only gets us to help people quickly, it also empowers individuals with the ability to decide what's best for their family based on their own personal situation. I think we're talking about, this will complement, of course, the Alberta government. This will come, we will be forwarding this assistance as of this afternoon. With more than 80,000 people registered with the Red Cross, the volume of activity is high and their needs are in great demand. So the evacuees will be provided with a email. Those who have provided us with email registration and have confirmed their email address will be receiving an electronic transfer within 24 to 48 hours. We're going to give you a technical briefing on all this so that all the information is clear. Those that either they will be able to transfer this amount to their bank account. Those that don't have a bank account or don't have an email address, not to worry, we will be reaching out to them to provide assistance in other ways. So no matter where they are in Canada, we will reach out to them. Not to worry, if you're registered with the Red Cross, you don't have to call us. We will reach out to you in the next few days. I think this covers. Finally, I think if anybody has not registered with the Red Cross, please call us and we will take on, we will send out teams to make sure that we leave nobody behind on this operation. For whatever reasons people have not registered, you can still call us and we will take down the information. And if you are eligible, we will support you as well. It's important to note also, all funds raised by this Red Cross operation are, of course, for the operation here in Alberta. This is only the first phase of this. We are 1 week in to the evacuation. This is the most important cash transfer we have done in our history, and the fastest one. Combination of both the ability to raise money very fast in Canada and also using these electronic means to transfer money directly in the hands of those affected. So this recovery, I think the last point is we know we will be working with the province in the weeks, the months, and the years to come, because this recovery will be long, and but this is just the first phase of it. Thank you.
We'll take questions now. Just a heads up for you guys that Red Cross does have a technical expert here, so if you have extremely technical questions, he will stick around. He's right here. He will stick around to answer your questions following the press conference. Go ahead from the floor.
Can you update us, sir, on the total amount of funds raised for the Red Cross or donated? And sort of also break down, I know the province will match, the federal government will match. How will that work, and what will the grand total sort of be available to people affected by this fire?
I think we don't know at this point what the grand total of funds will be raised. We are at, I just want to make sure, 67 million raised to date. That's without the matching fund. So we will see. We're early in. This is a week in. We don't know how much money we'll raise nor how much will be matched to that. But a large part of these funds are individual giving. This is unprecedented well in terms of the amount of individual giving we're seeing across the country, and a lot of that will be eligible for matching funds.
When does the matching actually begin?
The match is for all the individual funds.
But when will the federal money come in, type of thing, or when will the province?
We haven't finalized that.
So once that money comes in, will you then be distributing it through the same way, through the electronic transfers?
Well, this is the first stage. We're not there yet. I think this is answering everybody's immediate needs. I think the preoccupation. The fact that we've registered everybody will help us now do a better assessment of vulnerabilities, work with the province as well in understanding who the most vulnerable is and what's the best way in helping people in terms of their needs. But this is just the first phase. I think it's very fast. I think that's what we're trying to relieve the pressure at this point.
So by my count, it sounds like you have about 17 million left that hasn't been distributed. Can you just explain what that money is being held for, what some of that long-term effort looks like?
Well, I think we don't know what the total long-term looks like at this stage. I mean, we're 1 week in. It's all gonna go to support people. There's gonna be transitional issues. How long people will be spent away from Fort McMurray. When will it open up? We don't know. What are the challenges of reconstruction? We're building that now. But all the funds will go to those different phases according to the needs.
Will you be at some point sharing some of that money with local charities? Because there is a watchdog that's come out and said, well, what you're doing is great work, but it's taking away from the money that frontline charities should be receiving. So,
right.
And when you compare the money that was raised in the Alberta floods in 2013, only about 2% of the money you raised went to frontline charities. So will there be more of an effort to do that this time?
Thank you for that question, actually. That information is inaccurate, and we have the details of that. Yes, we're going to work, when we work in rebuilding, we work with local charities. If we take the Alberta flood response, 26% of funds went to local organizations. Over 84 local organizations were helped. It's not about funding, it's about working with the community and those local organizations. So absolutely, in terms of the Alberta floods, the amount was $12 million out of the 44. We have all the details of that. So it's been the same in Lac-Mégantic. Again, right now it's about addressing the immediate needs of those evacuees. After that, it's working with the community, and the Red Cross has always done that.
Premier, I'm wondering, there's also a need expressed from businesses in the Fort McMurray and area, and the council as well too. Is any consideration being given to providing bridge financing to businesses who are struggling, or will have to wait for a long time for the money to start flowing back in?
Well, we're not quite yet at that point, because we're still in the point of sort of assessing the damage. So of course, business owners, like other residents of Fort McMurray, would of course be eligible for the funds that we've just identified. I appreciate that doesn't help with the continuity of the business. But there's a number of different issues that have to be evaluated. First of all, what is the impact on the business? And that will be defined in large part by the point at which we are able to orchestrate reentry. And then in the months to come, does that business actually end up with more activity, less, that kind of thing. The other thing that has to be evaluated is the state of insurance, commercial insurance. Many businesses have commercial insurance, which automatically have income interruption provisions. So that has to be evaluated as well. That's all part of the larger, the next phase of the transitional and ultimately the recovery piece. So we're going to be looking into it. I've asked my Minister of Economic Development, Darren Darren Billis, to have his officials look into this issue and give us some preliminary assessments of the state of play, as well as some preliminary recommendations. And so we'll have more to say as time goes on. But we have to first get a sense of the breadth and depth of the problem.
Premier, I know you mentioned lineups. That was a big issue during the Calgary floods. You made the appeal about those more. Are there anything being done to mitigate sort of what we saw in Calgary? Anything different done this time around that people who are waiting to line up this afternoon can kind of expect?
Well, there's no question that Human Services has put a great deal of staff into the centres and have set up a lot of different lineups to ensure that it goes as quickly as possible. Today, it will open at 2 and go until 8, and just so people understand that, if you end up in the lineup at 7:50, you stay until you get your card. So it will mean that they're actually working well past 8 o'clock. It's just that they stop accepting people into the line at 8 o'clock tonight, and then it's 8 to 8 the following days. So the other thing, of course, we've been doing is we've been communicating through the telephone town halls, which has been I think a fairly effective way of getting clear information out to evacuees, and we have been more than usual outlining this issue and emphasizing this issue, that if you've got money in your pocket, if you've got money in your bank account, there's a core group of people, of evacuees, that aren't in that position. So please don't make them wait 10 hours to get what they need if you are in a position of being able to use your bank card to get money right now. And we know that that's the state of play for many evacuees. And we also know, of course, through the work of the Red Cross, that they'll get a little bit of extra money into their bank accounts over the course of the next 48 hours. So we're hoping that by emphasizing that issue, that people will be just a teeny bit more restrained in terms of making the decision to go to the centres in order to allow those who need it most to get there first.
Is there any update on reentry?
No, we are continuing to get briefed on the issue, and Cabinet will be meeting on it tomorrow. We're still in the assessment phase, and of course that needs to be complete before we can start planning the phases of the reentry. But as I say, we're hoping to get information to people within 2 weeks of Monday, which is when I believe I first started talking about it.
Is there any way, Premier, is there any way to make sure that the restoration work, those jobs, go to people who've been affected by the fire? Because there has been interest from all over the country. Is that something you can guarantee?
Well, that issue is an issue, and it's a matter that's being discussed as part of the transitional process, because obviously, you do want to ensure that the folks whose jobs have been interrupted, businesses have been interrupted, have the ability to get back and settle in, and they know the most about rebuilding their community, of course. So the terms of that, the mechanism of that, is still part of what's being discussed in the transitional plan, and we'll have more to say.
What would you like to see from the Prime Minister on Friday, concretely?
Well, I mean, I don't think it will come as a huge surprise to the Prime Minister that I believe that we are well past the point of justifying the need for the Edmonton area to be included under the new rules for EI. Quite frankly, it didn't get a lot of attention, but because of the fire. But last Friday, the employment numbers came out and officially rendered us eligible for that program. And so it's just a question of when the federal government makes the decision to review who is eligible. And we're arguing that under the current circumstances, there's a compelling reason for that review to happen, at least in the case of the Edmonton area, based on the whole additional number of people who are not employed right now who are arriving in our city. So that's one of the key issues that we're certainly still very interested in hearing from them in.
Can you explain the breakdown located in Calgary, Lac-La-Biche, and Edmonton?
At this point, we have 2 in Calgary. We have 1 centre in Edmonton and 1 centre in Lac-La-Biche. Officials are working furiously to open up a second centre in Edmonton, and there will be more opened up just generally outside of those centres in the days to come, as we assess the level of demand and as we hear from evacuees about the challenges that they're facing getting to the centres.
Can you explain the breakdown in the matching of funds? The province has said that they're going to match donations to the Red Cross. The federal government has also said that. So how does that work? As far as which you match, which they match, is there
Right.
doubling up?
I believe there would be some doubling up in some cases. The province, the commitment of the province was to match funds that were donated by Albertans. So we'll, of course, need to get an accounting from the Red Cross in terms of what percentage of those donations came from Albertans. Our officials are in conversations with the Red Cross about the terms of the matching fund and how we ensure the appropriate levels of accountability that we need for our books. And meanwhile, the Red Cross has been very generously offering to work with us in terms of their electronic infrastructure to, and we're in conversations right now about what that would look like in terms of getting our funds, which are basically double what the Red Cross is announcing, to those folks who are outside of Alberta.